Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 2048. Be prepared to be inspired.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today I'm in Bremen, Indiana, with a very special guest by the name of Carey Hines. Carey, welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have it in gear, and are you ready to release the clutch?
I sure am.
All right, we're going to have some fun. Before I give you a proper introduction, could you share one little thing with our listeners today that maybe most people don't know about you, Carey?
Oh boy, something personal that somebody wouldn't know about me is I solve problems in my sleep.
Well, okay.
I wake up at 3-4 o'clock in the morning and I've dreamt about something that I've been working on for weeks, and wouldn't you know, it's looked at from a different angle, a different view, and 9 times out of 10 it solves the problem.
You know, I'll tell you something funny, Carey. My wife, she's an engineer, but she always tells me that, Carey, when I'm having difficulty trying to figure something out, make a decision, work on something, she goes, go sleep on it, because she says, I'm convinced that your brain continues to work on issues while you're asleep. And she's right. Many times I'll wake up in the middle of the night and go, yes, I figured it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, at least I'm not the only one.
No. Do you keep a little notepad next to your bed like I do so you can write stuff on it?
I used to. Nowadays, it's just the iPhone and the notepad on the iPhone. It's one of the few things I'm digital at, but I find it handier than digging for a pen.
I understand. Yeah, and sometimes I wake up and look at what I wrote and I can't even read it. So it's like, oh, dang it. I should have recorded that. Oh, fascinating. Well, let me give you a proper introduction. Carey Hines is the president of Special Editions, which includes Beck Manufacturing and Beck Automotive Group, builders of the Beck Spider, the 904, the 356A Speedster, and a 356C Coupe. He grew up in the automotive industry, as his father has been involved in specialty cars since 1979 when he joined forces with Chuck Beck in the mid-'80s, and Carey started working in the shop in the summer of 1990 through 1994 during his high school days. He earned a dual degree from Youngstown University in biology and chemistry. We got a smart guy on our hands today, with a focus on psychology and human development. He then rejoined the company after college and started taking over the company back in 2000 with a goal to move production from South America back to the USA, where they were then making the 550 Spyder bodies. And he's now running the operation. Both his father and Chuck Beck are about as retired as they're ever going to be. And for you listeners know, yeah, Chuck's been a guest on my show a couple times. He does not sit idle at all. And today, Carey works with two of Chuck's sons, Randy and Dave. Very cool. It's a family affair there. We'll be back in just a moment, but first a word from our valued sponsors, so give them a little love, and we'll be right back. Covercraft's newest 5-layer indoor cover is especially engineered for indoor use, providing maximum dust protection when your vehicle's stored in the garage. Your 5-layer indoor cover is custom tailored with Covercraft's attention to detail, form, and fit, with the quality and attention to detail that's been their standard since 1965. Even if your vehicle is always inside, dust and fallout can damage the paint, and an extra layer of soft, breathable material protects from accidental bumps and rubs. Covercraft protects cars, trucks, motorcycles, RVs, trailers, and watercraft too. Every one of my vehicles is protected with a Covercraft cover, custom fit to fit the car like a glove. And I have a deal for you. If you use the code YEAH21 at covercraft.com, you'll get 10% off your order plus free shipping. That's right, 10% off and free shipping. Simply use the code YEAH, YEAH21 at checkout. Covercraft, protecting the things that move you. I was tired of my rates for my collector car insurance going up every year for no explainable reason. My carrier seemed to be turning into a media company versus an insurance company, and I realized that a portion of my policy premium was paying for all those so-called free media goodies. So I did my homework, I talked to knowledgeable collectors, shopped around, and discovered American Collectors Insurance. They've been serving the collector car hobby since 1976. You last that long by properly serving your customers' insurance need, not with a lot of fluff. ACI is ranked the #1 online collector car insurance provider according to Google, Trustpilot, Facebook, and they offer their real person guarantee live support. No never-ending phone loops when you need help. Plus, because you don't use your classic car as a daily driver, you could save up to 40% compared to regular auto insurance. American Collectors Insurance provides agreed value policies. So if you experience a total loss to your collector vehicle or it's stolen, you'll be paid the amount listed on your declaration page, less any deductibles, of course. No ifs, ands, or buts. Give them a call today and ask for your free quote at 866-ACI-YEAH. That's 866-224-9324. Tell them you're a friend of mine, Mark Greens at Cars Yeah. American Collectors Insurance. Classic car insurance designed by collectors for collectors. So, Carey, this is very interesting, and Carey and I had a great conversation before we opened the show up here about my old Beck Spider. You listeners have heard about that car, bought it 20 years ago, and we may be uncovering a little mystery about that car. Carey might know where that thing is today, but we're going to talk about what you're doing there in the business because I love what you guys are doing. That's why I bought my Beck Spider. Buying a real 550 20 years ago was not within my budget. It certainly is not in my budget today, but you guys make dreams come true in a variety of ways. So tell me a little bit about your company, all the different cars you build, and why you decided to, after college, not get into biology and chemistry and psychology, but go back into the family business and build some cool rides.
You know, the answer to the question about college really didn't take me long to discover. I was out of school for about 6 months, not working in that field, and realized that I guess let me back up there for a second. You know, Chuck and this would have been 99, 2000 right there when I joined the company. My father got hired on as the CEO of Avanti, and he and Chuck had a long-standing joke that if one of them ever got a real job, they had to drag the other one along with them. So Dad called Chuck and said, "Hey, guess what? You're the head engineer of Avanti. We're moving to Georgia," which is what brought Chuck to Villarica, where he retired to. And so when that happened, I contacted him and said, "Hey, you guys really haven't done anything with the Speedster. You know, the company that was selling the Spyder for Chuck while he was doing this isn't doing what they were supposed to be doing. What's the chances of me stepping in and doing some of this?" And within 6 months, it was taking more time than my full-time job. And I really had the realization that being able to do what you're passionate about and have that as your career is something that not a lot of people get the opportunity to do.
Right.
So I had my come to Jesus moment and moved the family out to northern Indiana, and the rest is history, as they say.
Well, I think this is pretty cool. And like I said, you guys create cars for people that they typically maybe can't buy, or because you're a much more affordable option, or people that maybe like to hot rod stuff or do special things with cars, and they maybe back in the day they don't want to do that to an original heavenly, not a 550 Spyder, but a Speedster or a Coupe or any of those cars. So tell us about the different cars that you're building today, because along with my passion with the 550, I love 356s, but those are becoming unobtainium. The prices are just crazy. And then, of course, we get into the 904, which is another one of those 550-esque price points that very few people can really afford. But you're very busy, because when I've been trying to get you on the show for a few weeks, it's like, I'm just too busy right now. I'm sorry, we got cars to build for the next couple of years. You're doing good, right?
Yeah, it's nuts around here. We always stay just about sold out for the year, right at that point. And we build 40 cars a year, and that's a really good mark for us. There's 20 of us here full time, and that keeps us very busy.
Wow.
At the onset of COVID, our phones started ringing off the hook. So as you can imagine, building 40 cars a year, if we sell a car a week, a car every 10 days, we're sold out for the year, and that's pretty standard for us. So we started selling 4 and 5 cars a week at the onset of COVID, and it hasn't stopped. We are now sold out. We stopped quoting lead times at 3 years in January. And what we're telling people now is that it's somewhere between 3 and 4 years. If you can be patient, you're welcome to jump on the list. Otherwise, give us a call back in a couple of years.
Oh my gosh.
We're continuing to expand the factory. We've added another 10,000 square feet. We're still dealing with some supply issues. Fiberglass materials are still on stipend, and the employment issues that everybody is facing around the country. But I, have some good interviews coming in this week for some positions that we have open, and my core 15, 16 guys that have been with me forever are still here and still love what they do. So they're just working a little extra hard.
So I have to ask, because I've heard this over and over within the car industry, COVID caused so many stoppages with so many different kinds of companies, but you just said something that I keep hearing. Your phone rang more. What do you think happened? Why is the automotive industry boomed during COVID, despite the obvious challenges?
I don't know that I know the proper answer for that, although what I've heard from a lot of people were, one, they spent a lot more time in front of their computer and they kind of made the decision, I've been thinking about this for 5, 10, 15 years, whatever it may have been, and it's time to pull the trigger. The other thing that we heard a lot of people say, especially during 2021, 20 to 21, but the 2 years there, was that they didn't take their normal family vacation. They weren't going out as much. They had a lot more expendable cash from being stuck at home, and they wanted to put it towards this, which is, again, something they've been thinking about for a long time. When our lead times got to 2 years, I thought, man, people are just going to hang up on me, think I'm crazy. And the exact opposite happened. People were saying, hey, we need to jump in line right now then, and we'll figure out the details as we go. And that's continued to the point where, as we get to beyond 3 years, close to 4 years backlogged, we're having conversations here of, okay, do we need to just shut down the wait list, or do we keep just pushing it out? And, I don't know that I know the answer just yet, but it's a new problem for us.
Yeah, well, it's, as they said, the proverbial good problem to have. So let's kind of walk through the cars.
Absolutely.
Now, we'll start with the car that I had, which was a Beck Spider, basically somewhat of a replica of the 550. Tell us about that one.
Absolutely. That's the car that started it all for Chuck. It was a replica of the 1955 550 Spyder. It's a car that Chuck always wanted and wanted to improve on as well. So a little bit wider, a little bit longer, lighter, and the car very well. It's motorized sneakers, I believe it was called by one of the magazines at one point in time. Yeah. 1,500 pounds. For a water cooled car, which is one of the more popular options today, the flat four Subaru. And, all the way down to 1,250, 1,300 pounds for an air-cooled version. And horsepower to weight says it all. I mean, that's it's quite the little missile. A motorcycle on four wheels would be another good description of it. You don't have any creature comforts. You have 3 pedals, a shifter, and a steering wheel, and that's about the end of it, all in a sexy package.
Yeah, very cool. Now, when people order that car, can they order different types of power plants and transmissions? You mentioned air-cooled or the Subaru-style boxer engine.
Yeah, we set them up for air-cooled or water-cooled, and that's one area that things have changed a lot with EPA restrictions, with the small volume manufacturing. We do not build turnkey internal combustion motor cars. They all have to be sold as rollers, and then the client supplies their own engine and transmission, or transaxle, whatever the case may be. And that can be installed on their behalf at a shop outside of the factory that they arrange, or they can do it on their own. And then we offer a testing service for guys that maybe not so confident in what they've done or just want to verify what the shop's done. Car can come back to the factory after the drivetrain was installed. We check it out, make sure everything was done properly, and then one of the guys takes it out on about a 100-mile test drive, shakes down all the initial bugs, and makes some adjustments.
Nice. Now, the 904, which is, I guess, somewhat new, although you've been doing it for a while, right?
Yeah, the 904 was actually a project that started alongside the Spyder in 1983. Made baby steps, but always ended up taking a back seat to the Spyder. So there were some cars built sporadically over the years, but didn't go into full production until about 2007.
And that car can have a 911 engine put in it, or
it is.
Yeah.
It's set up for the 901 or 915 series gearbox with a flat 6 Porsche 911 motor. We are now prototyping the M96, M97 Boxster and Cayman drivetrains, and in fact, one of my personal cars here, we fit the M96, just a 2.5 with the 5-speed into it.
Oh my gosh! With
the prices of the air-cooled cars going through the roof, the air-cooled parts have followed suit. So, an $8,000 993 3.6 motor is a thing of the past. That's $25,000 today. And you can buy a wrecked Boxster for, several $1,000s. So just made sense, and the natural progression of it all.
Yeah, I love it. Now, also, of course, the Speedster, which is another iconic car that the reality of real Speedsters, they've gotten $500,000. Some of those cars are more. So you build is it proper to call it a replica? Can I say that?
Yeah, absolutely. They are the replicas, tribute cars, kit cars. It doesn't offend me.
Okay, great. And the other car, which is kind of fun, is the Coupe. The C Coupe, right?
Absolutely. The Speedster is a replica of the 57 as a standard, although the original car, the differences in 55, 56, 57 through 59 are all in the taillights, gauges, and license plate lights, so really easy to make it a replica of multiple years. That car in 2019, we took more to a resto mod, changed the chassis completely. Chuck designed the chassis and the suspension and the steering for me, and actually produces that chassis to supplement his retirement income still. Today, in fact, we travel down to Georgia every couple months and pick up a trailer load of them from him. But we took that car to A-arm front suspension, rack and pinion steering, adjustable coilovers all the way around, independent rear suspension, all packaged in the original size Speedster body that we've produced since the 90s. So wanted to take that one just a step beyond what was being done in the industry with the VW-based suspension or belly pan cars. Although our cars have always been tube chassis, we still use the Volkswagen-based suspension on that car, much like what is still in the Spyder and likely will always be in the Spyder just due to space constraints. Did the same thing with the Coupe, except for with the Coupe, we wanted to go a bit beyond, so we made the Coupe Mid Engine. So much like the R904 or a Boxster came in, it is a tubular chassis, A-arm suspension, rack and pinion steering, everything that we did with the Speedster, but in a mid-engine platform. Mainly water-cooled. We're playing with a couple six-cylinder cars as well. But it makes a car that looks like a mid-60s 356C coupe, but performs like the 904.
Wow, very cool. And the engine is still accessed through the back, even though it's been pushed forward?
No, there's a cover behind the seat that looks like leather luggage, and when you lift the luggage up, it's your engine cover, and you have a small trunk in the rear. Enough for some soft bags and groceries.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Fascinating. I didn't know that. Very cool. I love it. Well, I would assume in your life, you've had maybe driving inspiration, an influential person, someone that's been a bit of a mentor in some way. Is there somebody like that in your world?
Oh, most certainly, most certainly. I've been very, very fortunate to follow on the coattails of my father and Chuck, who are, genuinely pioneers in this industry. Chuck is known the world around. And my father has been representing, South American kit car manufacturers since the late 70s, and then partnering with Chuck and setting up the factory and then the Beck legacy there. So, I had some great influence with my father, and he was one that really pushed, patience and perseverance and breaking things down into their basics and their essentials. And then I had the engineering genius and suspension genius of Chuck Beck behind that. Teaching me very much the same things. Break it down into its basics. You have these components of steering, and they have to work in this way. And so yeah, I was very fortunate to have those guys pushing me in this industry and teaching me and sometimes smacking me on the hand. All comes with it.
Yeah, I think so. Well, for you listeners, you regular listeners know Chuck was an early guest on my show, and I just recently had him back for his 85th birthday, which is pretty spectacular. That he's one of those guys, and I assume your dad probably the same. They don't sit around very well.
No. My dad retired for I think he was actually out of here for about 90 days.
That was it.
And he came back and said, "You got to find something for me to do. I've done everything at home I care to, and get me out of the house."
Yeah. Well, that's what keeps longevity in life and happiness and all that kind of fun stuff. So I love it. Very cool. I love hearing some of this history of the business. We're going to take a short break. We come back. I want to talk a little bit about a challenge and what you're looking like in the future. So keep those thoughts in mind, and we'll be right back. You listeners know that I'm a huge car care fanatic, and my friends at AutoGeek created their Wolfgang Deep Gloss Paint Sealant for perfectionists like you and me. Wolfgang Deep Gloss Paint Sealant is designed to provide long-lasting protection and a glossy, slick finish that, well, it's unmatched. The use of polymer technology ensures your paint is protected from environmental contaminants, those damaging UV rays, and lasts up to 3 months long. By providing the glossy look of carnauba wax with the longevity of a synthetic formula, Wolfgang Deep Gloss Paint Sealant is the best of both worlds. Go to autogeek.net to get yours for the best product selection on the internet today, along with their skilled technical support. Autogeek.net is where I go for all my detailing needs. That's autogeek.net. Linkage. It's a new quarterly publication and website that covers the automotive market, driving, restoring, collecting, and discovering your passion for motor vehicles. Linkage is about experiences, opinions, and values. Linkage is an actual informed, reasoned opinion based on first-hand experiences. A talented linkage team covers the automotive world, the people who share your passion and mine, smart, considered, rational, and experienced opinions, ones you can learn from and grow. That includes our passion that drives auctions and the collector car market. So come with me and join us on this journey. And be sure to use the code CARSYEAH when you subscribe, and they'll give you $10 off. Boom! Linkage, geared for the automotive life. Subscribe today at linkagemag.com. So, Carey, let's talk about this big challenge, big obstacle, maybe a big failure that you hit, and it's more about the lesson it taught you so you can move forward. So maybe take us down a little bit of a rough ride.
Boy, so I would say our biggest challenges generally have to do with the restrictions that we have in this business. We have 50 states that have different ideas of what replicas should be, and they register them differently. There was no kind of oversight of everything, and then SEMA, bless their souls, comes in and tries to put some streamline to all this. And there was about 25 states that adopted SEMA laws, although they had their own little variations. So you had to learn what each state wanted these cars to be and wanted these cars to do. And now you have the Small Volume Manufacturing Act, which allows us to produce up to 325 turnkey cars per year. But it also has its caveats, and for our industry, there's no approved motor at the moment. So the only cars that we can produce with a 17-digit VIN, once this is all set up and done, will be our electric series of the cars. So only our EV stuff will have an approved drivetrain, until some additional motors get approved for the small volume manufacturing. At present, it's like Chevy V8s and Ford V8s are the only things that are available to that outlet.
You beat me to the punch. I was going to ask about EVs.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I've built EV rollers for about 12 years for people to convert on their own. And then I had to request for several, and had some people that wanted to come in and do the work, on some. So, we've done several iterations of electric, Speedsters and Spyders, and I'm finishing up a cabriolet now that's an exact clone of the Janis Joplin car with the History of the Universe mural, and a very, very big project we've been working on, all Tesla batteries and Warp 9 motor. And we're also in the process of prototyping, or robbing and duplicating, I guess would be a better term in this regard. Which is often R&D in this industry, is rob and duplicate. But we're looking at reverse engineering some of the.
Never heard that before. I like that.
Yeah, that's one of the very early things my father and Chuck taught me was that when you make something new, your first customer is going to be your competition.
Yes,
and that's very true in our industry oftentimes. But we were working on reverse engineering some of the Chevy Bolt and some of the other major manufacturers' EVs, to give us much more range and much more uniformity through the parts. And so that's a long-term project. I have a good business partner on that. But that's one of our big projects is to have the Speedster, the Spyder, the Coupe, any of those cars, but with something that's got a 250, 300 mile range, something that's a bit beyond what's available today at that 100 to 150 mile range, and charging restrictions and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So when you carry that into the future, what does your future look like? What's your bucket list in the next couple of years? Other than I guess you've got enough cars to build in the next 2 years. So
most certainly, expansion of the facilities is certainly first and foremost, as I started to mention earlier. And I actually don't know if we were on air when I was talking about it, but we added 10,000 square foot to the factory, and then we're continuing to expand in that regard. But my main goal is to get set up properly in this small volume manufacturer. Ultimately, to have an ICE, an internal combustion engine that was approved, so we could do turnkey internal combustion engine cars. But to continue to develop the electric cars, the EVs, and you have that car as a 17-digit VIN. You can get your tax credits, you can register it without hassle. Because that's where I was going with what I was saying earlier. With prior to all of this, you get a different answer from every state.
Right.
And there's nothing that's more disheartening than dealing with a customer or a client that has been waiting a long time for their car. They've spec'd this thing out. They know every detail that's gone into it. They've watched pictures of it develop over the build, and then they have to fight with their state to get it registered.
Oh, yeah. Horror stories. When I bought mine, it came from California, and it had been licensed down there in California, a highly restricted place. And I brought the car up here, and they wouldn't let me register it. And I'm like, what? And I'll tell you a funny story. What happened was I ended up somebody said, don't go to the regular DMV, go to a licensing office. And I went there, and the lady said, what's the VIN or and I told her, and she goes, it's not coming up. And I said, well, it's a kit car. And she goes, well, what's the engine number? Well, my car was built with a 56 Porsche engine. And so when I gave that to her, she was able to pull that up. She goes, well, I'm just going to register it as a 1956 Porsche. And I just went, okay. I stopped talking. That's wonderful. And she goes, well, then you can register it as a collectible car and you don't have to re-register it every year. Just get collector plates. Done. I lucked out.
And that's how these cars are used by most people. So it makes the most sense. And I understand the oversight and whatnot, and it's nice, again, with this small volume, there's a lot of bugs to work out in this small volume thing to make it seamless, but it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Ah, cool. Love it. So let's talk about a special vehicle in your life. I'm guessing you've had a bunch, but maybe is there one that stands out for you?
Yeah, I've got one that I just recently acquired. Randy Beck, Chuck's youngest son, that's in the automotive, youngest of his older sons. Chuck has 3 sons that are in their 50s, and then he's got a couple kids that are younger. But anyways, Randy campaigned a blue 914 on the West Coast in the POC for many, many years. Started out as a 1.7-liter car, 4-cylinder, developed into a 3.8 RSR, flared, 13-inch slicks on the back, tunneled, lightweight race car that was running GT2 and doing very, very well.
Wow.
He got done with that car. It sold a few times and wound up with somebody that we knew in southern Georgia, and he started selling off his collection recently, and I was able to reacquire that car. So I am in the process of kind of backdating it to the smaller displacement that it originally was so that I can learn that car on the track, and then I'll put a 3.6 or a 3.8 back into it eventually, but I didn't want to kill myself day one, so it's got a little 2.5 in it right now. But that's a car that's very special to everybody in the company, and I'm just really proud to own it. Yeah,
I had a 73 2.0, great fun little car, but I can't imagine putting a 3.8 in one of those things. Oh my God, holy cow. So yeah, sounds like a fun ride and great history too, so you are very fortunate.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be your car psychologist today and crawl into your skull a little bit, Carey. If you were reincarnated, get the pun, as a vehicle, not what you want to be, but the kind of guy you perceive yourself to be as a vehicle, what would you be and why?
I thought about this question for a while because I knew it was coming, of course.
Yeah.
And, everything I thought about was exotic and cars that I liked and whatnot. And then I looked outside and you know what I drive every single day? I drive a 2500 HD Chevy Silverado. And I have since about 2007. In fact, I racked up almost 400,000 miles on my last one, and I just bought a new one about a year ago. That truck describes me very well. It's reliable. It's a workhorse. It's a good, honest American truck. I don't have anything bad to say about it. It's just one of those, and that's kind of how I perceive myself as, I'm a workhorse. And I consider myself a good, honest American.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, I hear that answer from a lot of people. Just get her done. Get down and get it done. We'd all love to be sleek 550 Spyders and 904s and Ferraris or whatever. But most of us that work hard just get down and get her done. So solid like a rock, as they say. Or that guy that was just in his Chevy truck in that tornado where it flipped his truck around and then it flipped it up. And the Chevy should give him a new truck and make a commercial out of that, because
I believe that one of the dealers in his hometown has said something about giving him a new truck. He now has the most famous Chevy truck in America. It was on every news channel in the world.
You know what impressed me more than the fact that the Chevy truck survived is that he just drove away after the whole thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, that guy's got some, it's
absolutely.
Holy man. I don't know if I'd have the wherewithal after something like that to just go, well, guess I got to go home. Maybe go get a beer or something. I don't know. So let's talk about a great book. Is there a great book that you'd like to share that you've enjoyed?
I haven't read a good recreational book since college, but I read a ton of technical manuals and restoration manuals and service catalogs and these, especially dealing with modern Porsche electronics. Some of these technical service catalogs are 3,000 and 4,000 pages long. But there is one great book that I reference all the time. It's called Porsche 904: The Truth and the Rumors, and it is a chassis by chassis history of all of the cars. It details down to original car decks, what colors the cars left the factory in, what races they were in, lots of pictures of little details and parts, and just one of those books that's extremely well put together. And I love having something where there's a history of every chassis that was ever made, of the 904, from chassis number, prototype number 1 all the way to chassis number 126.
That book was by Philip. He's got a goofy last name. I can't remember. I know the book you're talking about. It's got like a gray cover or something.
Yep, it's
Olzik or something. Yeah. And Mike Morris was the other co-author of that book. Yeah, cool book. I think it's way out of print, so you're going to have to pay a little bit if you find one. But interesting book, with that classic, wonderful car. Love the 904.
One of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It might be the next toy for me. Maybe get a 904. That would be, well, not a real one, but one of your guys' ones. Yeah. The real ones are a little pricey, just a little bit. So.
Yeah, I think the good auction examples have hit that $4 or $5 million
at least
mark lately.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's a bit much. So I'm going to allow you to go on the ultimate drive, which means I'm going to buy you any car. You can drive anywhere with anybody, living or someone who's passed. So if you could go on that ultimate drive, and my checkbook is wide open for you, what does it look like for you?
This one wasn't too difficult for me. There's a couple of cars that we've owned, but I was too young to drive. One of them being a Miura, and also the Aston Martin DB4. And so I actually chose the DB4. It's a little more civilized. And I would be driving because I'm a control freak. I can't be a passenger in anybody's car. I'm not a good passenger. And this is another one I thought about for quite some time, Mark, and I kept thinking of the celebrities, and quite frankly, I've met a lot of the celebrities that I wanted to meet. I've built cars for many of them, but quite honestly, I think I would take a ride with my papa, my grandfather. That he passed probably 10 years ago now, and actually a bit longer than that. And, as far as what we would talk about on this drive, I think I would just enjoy having a conversation with him as an adult. And I can't remember the last time, I was much too young and inexperienced. And, he has a lot of life experience and decided that he didn't want to be poor anymore, and went to Russia and learned how to do directional drilling, and started his own directional drilling company in Louisiana and became very successful. And I'd really like to pick his brain.
Sounds like an amazing man. What a fun ride that would be. So you've taken us on a fun ride today, and I'm so happy that you took some time to share the company, and, a company that I have a little bit of history with. And I'll tell our listeners that there's a little small chance that Carey might know where my old car is. So if you figure out it's the same chassis number, let me know. That would be very interesting. My son's always been angry that I sold it. Maybe he can buy it back. He's an adult now.
Absolutely
with a good job.
I will find out.
Wouldn't that be something? Before I let you go, could you share a success quote, a mantra, or some kind of words of wisdom for our listeners today?
Something everybody's probably heard before, and it's something that we around here are very strong about, and that's a man's as good as his word. we learned to be honest, to be straightforward. Don't oversell what we do, because there's nobody walking because they don't have one of our cars. They're a toy, just not built like a toy. We've become known for not only our quality in the cars that we build, but for our customer service and the way we treat people. And it amazes me. We deal with a lot of huge CEOs, and I get guys from these major Fortune 500 companies that say, you know what, I've never had customer service as good as I've dealt with your company.
Nice.
And we're very proud of that. And we just do that through, again, being honest, being straightforward. And, if we say we're going to do something, we do it. So that's kind of what we live by around here.
Pretty simple. I just don't understand why more people don't live that way, but the world will be a much better place. How can people learn more about your company, Carey?
Sure. Website, BeckSpeedster.com, BeckSpider.com. Any one of those will get you to it. Google it. We've been in just about every major magazine out there. There's information on our website. We're actually in the midst of revamping the website. So there'll be a new launch and with more company history, more car history, a little more seamless parts ordering, things like that. But there's plenty of information on the web, and as I mentioned to you earlier on, we're sold out for the next 3+ years. But if you're interested in getting in the queue and you've got a whole lot of patience, hey, give us a call. We'll start working out the specs for you.
Well, there you go. And I'll tell you, listeners, having owned one for a while and driving it, they're so much fun. So if you want to have some fun in your life, get in queue, because these things are a kick. Yeah, I still kick myself a bit for letting it go at one point in time. Mine didn't have a top, so living up here in the Northwest without a top is a little bit of a challenge, but you can put tops on those cars. So there you go. Carey, thank you for being so generous today with your time and your expertise and bringing some of my past and history of your company to our listeners today. Until you and I talk again, my friend, I'll see you down the road.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome. We all count on skilled auto technicians to ensure that our families and ourselves are safe on the road, that an airplane will get me safely to my destination, that trucks are moving the stock to shelves of essential parts and things that we need. That's why TechForce Foundation's slogan is so appropriate. When techs rock, America rolls. I love that. TechForce is a charity of cars, yeah, and like all charities, they need our support. If you love cars and can relate to the young person's desire to turn their passion into a career, go to techforce.org today and donate or become a volunteer. That's techforce.org.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.